Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Bitcoin Hour. I'm Dave Bradley. I've gotten some pretty good feedback since I launched this show a few days ago, and a friend of mine said to me, pointed out something interesting. He said, Dave, the very same day that you launched this show, AOC, who is a United States Democratic lawmaker of some kind. I can't remember what her real name is, and I don't know whether she's a senator or a member of the House. It's not really important. She's generally known for being hot and annoying. But very notably, on the very same day that I launched this show, she removed her pronouns from her bio. And so this friend of mine was saying, Dave, is it possible that you have somehow ended this era of gender madness in just one day? And I think the answer is no. I don't know why those things would be related, but I'm glad to see the world moving in a good direction. I wanted to talk today about something called the Cobra effect. This is something I've mentioned on some other podcasts, but I think it's good to get it out there as many times as possible because it's something that's going on really with just about every decision that every government in the world makes is subject to the Cobra effect, which is otherwise known as a perverse incentive. And so essentially where the term the Cobra effect comes from is during the 1700s, the British were ruling India, and they noticed that there were way too many cobras in Delhi, and they were biting a lot of British people, and they didn't like that. And so they decided, hey, we need to get rid of these cobras. And like many governments, they took what they thought was a seemingly simple step to directly address a problem that they saw needed to be fixed. And so what they did was they put a bounty on these cobras. The problem was they didn't really understand the local economy. And so the bounty ended up being something like 3 months of an average salary for an Indian person at the time, and basically caused a massive rampage to hunt down all the cobras, which could be seen as a good thing. But the next step was that, you had this newly rich class of cobra hunters who had now run out of cobras. And so very quickly, these cobra hunters just followed their own incentives, and the cobra hunters became cobra farmers. And so for many years, they were basically farming these cobras, raising them to adulthood, and then turning them into the British for a bounty that was exorbitantly higher than the actual market value of a cobra should be. And this went on pretty well for a while until one day somebody over at the British side said, there's never any cobras. We still pay for a lot of cobra bounties, but we never see cobras. And so they did some investigation, found this network of cobra farms, and they were outraged. They're like, this is not what we intended. You can't just farm cobras and hand them in. And so they immediately shut down the entire cobra bounty program. And the immediate result was that all of the cobra farms released all of their cobras now that they were functionally useless. And so now you had way more cobras than when you first started. And this is an example of a seemingly simple policy set out to do one thing, which, because the person creating that policy was unable to see a pretty simple second order effect, the policy ended up having actually the exact opposite outcome of what was intended. You had more cobras instead of fewer cobras. And this is endemic in every government in the world. This example, the British official couldn't see past this one simple second order effect. But the reality is that most of the systems that we deal with in the world are considerably more complicated than the cobra population of India. There's a lot more factors that go into it. There are a lot more people with different incentives. And this kind of gets down to the flaw in the idea of central planning as a whole, is humans are just not made to be able to design, anticipate, model, or really even understand exceptionally complex systems. And that fallacy and the belief that we can do that is what has led to a lot of the greatest catastrophes of the last couple hundred years, and the idea that, central planners are better at allocating farm production than the market leads to starvation. And this, I think, is a very ubiquitous problem that, we're not going to ever be able to solve until we let go of the idea that we are essentially gods who can fix anything. And we've got to surrender to the forces of the market and allow the many small choices of the individuals to make the broader choices for the market for us. And that's really the only way to achieve what they might call the greater good, the most good outcomes for the most number of people. In order to get there, we have to trust the markets. So with that, I see, we're a little over 5 minutes in, and I've got a notification on my screen here that unfortunately the government has stolen the remaining 54 minutes of this hour. And so that's all you get for the Bitcoin Hour today. I'll see you soon.